Hello everyone, I am Plankera, and today I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. We're continuing our adventures in meshing. All of the meshes. It always takes a little while to go through it all, but it's important, so can't really skimp out on it. So I'm going to be starting on the coat sleeve today. And that's going to be something that, well, it's very floppy, which means it's definitely going to have a bunch of physics on it. So it'll probably be moving a lot. Which means finer meshes. With lots of little dots. You'll see how my hand has been cramping a bit the past couple of days from just the sheer amount of double clicking I do to get all these dots in. So we'll see how I do by the end of today. Fortunately, a lot of the coat sleeve is just kind of tiny little layers, so I may have less that I actually need to do. We shall see. And yeah, that's fine. I don't think I have to worry about keeping the inside there super clean. That just sounds like a good way to put a whole lot of extra effort into something that doesn't matter. Honestly, even this much might be excessive here, but I can't help myself. I try to moderate the effort, but I'm not good at it. So. But it's alright. I'll do what I can. And I'll at least acknowledge that I do not need that tiny little gray line there to move very well at all, so I'm pretty sure this level of mesh is fine. And if I'm wrong, well, I can fix it later. It's all good. It looks like this first part is just all the back pieces. Which makes sense, since Inochi2D imports my Krita layers backwards. So the layers that would have at the bottom would be on the top. Since the order of the layers in the program here don't, it doesn't really matter. It's never really bothered me. But I do try to be particular about the layer order when I'm in Krita, because that determines the draw order number applied to each layer by default. And that's actually what determines how everything will look, so that part's important. Where they actually are in the layer order within this program, like physical layer order, it's like, nah, that's not important. All that matters is the number that tells you which order, that tells the program what order to draw them in. for here, probably still doesn't matter much, but I think I'm still gonna put a few triangles around this black spot here. It's because it's a shadow and I want to be prepared to move that as needed. That should be plenty. And here I can see that I have a bunch of extraneous triangles that I want to get rid of, so just do that real quick. It doesn't take that long. And I can tell just by looking at them that they'd annoy me later, so it's all good to take just an extra minute to clean that up. I think I'm actually going to do this like this. Just 3 rows instead of 4. Put them a little bit closer together than that because I still do want this to be able to move well. I don't think I need to be that detailed about it. This is just a nice little narrow thing, so I'm pretty sure I can just do a standard 3 rows of dots here. With maybe just a little bit extra on the bottom here to help accommodate that line. And the black line there. And at least looking at things here, I think this should be plenty. Just spend an extra moment to get those triangles straight. It'll make things easier to move around later. There we go. Yeah, I think right there might need a couple of extra. But everything else, I think this is plenty. And there we go. Just a fairly quick one. And then I'll just put just a tiny bit of extra right through here. Do I need that? I don't think I do. I think this should be fine. There we go. Just making a few small decisions there. Make sure that everything is laid out nicely. Here we go. And these shadow layers definitely do not need to be overly detailed. These are just here to help make the coat moving around to look a bit nicer. They're mostly abstract shapes here. And oh boy am I glad, because look at the bottom there. It's really starting to blend in with the background color. It's funny, as I go across, it always feels like the triangles get bigger and bigger. I guess here I managed to keep it fairly consistent. I can just get a little bit lazy with all the clicking involved in making all these. And I just kind of want to finish it all. Meshing is definitely the least exciting part of the actual rigging portion. And it is a necessary step, so I take it very seriously. This is the foundation for everything else that'll be coming later. This is how the computer knows how to transform the pixels of the art underneath it. So, very, very important. Did I get that all? It's, yeah, blending in a little bit there, but I think I got it all. A little bit hard to see. Today's one of those days where my head is drawing a bit of a blank on the stuff to talk about. That happens sometimes. Like I do try to think about what to ramble about before stream actually starts. Sometimes it can be hard to remember it all, and then there's days like today where I'm just like, I'm not actually sure. So I guess I'll talk about not being actually sure, because that happens sometimes. That happens when I talk to people sometimes too. It's just like, I like them, I kind of want to talk to them, but then I actually go and try to think of a subject and my brain just kind of fizzles. Sometimes our brain has just more with it than other days. Fortunately, I do not need a brain to do okay meshes. It's like I have to think a little bit, like I can't be completely brain dead, but I only need maybe 10% brain. The rest could be over in La La Land thinking about whatever it wants to be thinking about. In this case, I just happen to be starting a new character design for something, and well, that's not something I'm quite ready to talk about yet, so that's why even though my brain is off in that direction, it's not actually something I can use to ramble. Very unfortunate. That happens too, and in fact, it's a fairly solid example of my brain wants to work on this other thing, but I have this other project that I really want to make progress on too. This, the model I'm rigging right now. And so I'm insisting working on that at the moment. Even though my brain is kind of elsewhere. But I think that's kind of a healthy way to approach creativity sometimes, of making sure you're devoting attention to the projects, all the projects that need it. And I assure you, I will be indulging my brain later, but I'm still going to make solid daily progress on this before I do. And even before I started streaming, that was a policy I had, where I just try to work on the thing I quote-unquote should be working on. For a little while, make a little bit of progress, and set a specific goal or something. And then you can go into a project that your brain is clamoring for with no guilt, and it feels much better. At least it does for me. Because it's like, if I don't, I'm just gonna be like, man, I probably should have done more with that today, and I've made no progress. And my brain will be sad while I'm trying to focus on this thing that it wants to do. Even though it's all its fault. Brains are weird like that. Unfortunately, there's ways you can work with it. And honestly, I do like rigging too, and I think this project is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to being able to show it off once it's all done. So I just get to remind my brain of all the cool things that's going to happen there too. Like someday there will be hair physics. And my brain is like, ooh. And even right now, while meshing the code here is a bit annoying, the only reason it has to be done like this is because someday there will be coat physics. And my brain is like, ooh. It's looking forward to those things. Okay, so this is an interesting one because this is one that's probably going to have to get a little bit bigger. So I'm not actually sure if a 2 is good for this. Like, at this width, 2 dots is probably what I would have normally done, but just due to the nature of it, I think I'm actually going to go with 3 rows of dots instead of 2. Just to give myself a little bit more room to make it a little bit wider. Let's see what I can do with this. Especially at the bottom here where it got a little bit thicker. I think I should be able to do what I want like this. And 3 rows is at least still pretty straightforward. Like I said, I don't need a brain to do this. I just gotta go. Gotta tell my fingers to move and think about all the shiny physics because that stops me from going a bit crazy. Doing the tedious part all at once here. But admittedly, that is why I like to just do all the tedious parts at the beginning. Because then it's done. And I can just work on the rest of it in peace. I can certainly understand why some people like to get into animating and setting up the parameters and stuff before finishing all the meshes. Sometimes I do too. Like at this point I could start on like eye blinks or head turns or any of that stuff because, well, I already have the head meshed. It's all done. I'm just doing the body too because my brain is okay with it. And if I don't have to fight it right now in order to get this part done, well, that seems like a good time to do it. Because I know I won't have to fight my brain when it comes to working on a lot of the animation. Because that part's way more fun. I do feel like half of getting into a creative groove is just figuring out how it works. And I do think it's all a little bit different for every person. I am very much the type of person that just kind of goes. It's like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. Okay, let's go. Let's do it right now! Don't need to wait at all. Let's just go. So I do tend to get a wee bit impatient sometimes. Sometimes, I say. Let's see, how are these connected? I think it's like this. Yeah, there we go. Those extra lines were being tricky. Had to use my brain a little bit there. My brain woke up from its, character design coma and was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how those lines work. There you go. Okay. And this one's bigger, so I'm probably gonna have to make this actually fairly detailed. This is probably gonna be all the way around with some extra details in the middle. Oh, but the good news about the sleeve here is I was able to make the sleeves completely symmetrical. So once I finish this mesh, I won't have to do the other one. I'll just copy it over. So I only have to mesh all this once. Huzzah! Right now I'm looking at this and I'm just like, oh boy, look at all those little shadow and light spots I have to care about. It's not like all the rest where it's just like, oh, I can pretty much put dots wherever I want and it'll be fine. Like, no, I have to pay a little bit more attention here. And it's okay, if I do it right, it should move nice and easy for me and not be crunchy. And all these other things. When it moves nice and easy, it means there won't be that much work. And I can just focus on the animation itself as opposed to wrangling the art to work with me. Like, you gotta do enough wrangling when you're rigging. There's a lot to pay attention to. You don't want to have to wrangle your art into submission too. Hence, being very particular about your mesh. I haven't used Live2D much at all myself, but I'm always very surprised at the amount of people that are able to use the auto mesh and get good results with it. Because it just seems like this particular stage is so important. But maybe the way the meshes are used in Live2D is a little bit different. They are still ultimately different programs. And I do not know enough about it, and I have not used it enough to really be able to compare it with Inochi2D. I do prefer to use open source software when I can. Open source software is typically created by people that just really want something to exist. It's the kind of thing that's more fueled by passion than profits. Nothing wrong with making money off of your work, but there's making money and then there's what a lot of these corporations do. Also, I hate monthly subscriptions for anything. But that's something else entirely. Just because my brain kind of freaks out about it for some reason. Like, there's been a few times where I've maybe wanted to try an online game, but I knew that the second that I was paying a subscription for it, I would feel the need to just play it all the time in order to get my money's worth. And I don't really like to feel obligated to play a game. So I just avoid the subscription. It's one of those things that my brain is weird about. I mean, I am basically allergic to spending money. So when I do spend money, I do try to get as much as I can out of it. It's very important to me. But I imagine nobody here is here to talk about money. We're here to talk about art. Art is way more fun. Money is important because the fact that I have it, it enables me to do more art, but it's not so fun to worry about. Well, look, almost all the way around. And just a bit more to go, and then I can worry about the interior. This is another case where I could have done the interior first if I wanted, but I didn't, so that's fine. I can do it in whatever order I want. Some decisions just aren't that important, and there's no need to stress out over them. I'll just do whatever I feel like doing. And it'll work out. I don't need to be getting decision paralysis over something like this. Although, man, I'm looking at all this and I'd forgotten how shiny her coat is. Definitely gonna want to make sure that this line is well preserved because I think I can do a lot with that highlight. It's just so shiny. Just the last few for the outside. And then we'll go see what's up with that highlight. Or do I need to do another layer of dot to handle this? I think I do, actually. This dark spot. Yeah, let's do another layer all the way around. And then we'll worry about that highlight. It's okay. Strictly speaking, this is technically part of it. Because this is where it's dark, and you can't have shiny highlights without having the contrasting dark area. Otherwise, it wouldn't be much of a highlight at all. As it would be too similar in color to everything else. And at this point, that little dark spot has kind of mostly tapered off. So I probably could just not go all the way down, but I think I will. There's enough of this little... Yeah, and it's kind of starting back up again here, so yeah, this is definitely the right way to do it, I think. Kind of ended right here again, so I'll start preparing these for the edge of this darker spot. And I think I'll handle this part more like this. I'm gonna wrap around here. Yeah, and then let these triangles kinda handle this part. Yeah, I think that should be pretty good. It looks like I have an extra dot here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now everything else should go nice and smoothly. Just kind of needed to transition it there. Okay. And now this side. Let's see how this side shakes out. I'm going to keep it mostly on the edge of this highlight here. There's this little shadow area And then there's the edge of the highlight. Yeah, I think I can do it like this. It's like I could follow this part down a little bit more closely, but I think this should actually work out for me. This big highlight is probably the most important part right now. Although, yeah, because I can see here that I'm going to want to put a little bit more, kind of follow this spot right here. So you can see I'm very much just following the changes in light and dark here. And that's kind of what informs where I put all the triangles. I think like this should be okay. I might want to very explicitly put a little bit around this bright highlight. Yeah, I think so. Just something like this. And I'll put some around this dark area. Trying to make sure the triangles on both sides look pretty nice. That's always a bit tricky, but I can normally make it work out. Now I'll go back up around the rest of this dark area, and then I can go back up into that highlight that I was being particular about before. Would you look at that? We're almost all the way around again. Yeah, like a lot of this, just going round and round and round until you got everything you want. Everything looks just the way you want it to. I'm going to start from over here. Yeah, there we go. That will make it a bit easier to understand this top part, I think. Right to there should be good for that. I'm happy because this is probably the most detailed part of the sleeve. And once I get it done, that's probably the hardest part behind me. And the rest should be relatively straightforward. And I can kind of let my brain go to sleep and think about fantasy armor again. Just add a few right there, and I think this is probably good. Yeah, I think I got it all. Time to go fix all the lines. Because I already know that there were some that did not cooperate with me and went the wrong direction. So I'm gonna have to fix those. Okay. Mostly focusing on the outside for now, but trying to remember which spots I saw had problems like this. I think I'll just have to go around it again. I typically do. It can be hard to pay attention to everything all at once, especially when the process is just a little bit mind-numbing, and so I tend to zone out a little bit. It's hard to do detailed work when you're zoning out a little bit. Okay, yeah, it looks like got most of this extra lines here. Wouldn't surprise me if I missed a couple because they do like to be sneaky and hide. It's being very sneaky. Alright, time to go all the way around the edge now, because I know some of them didn't quite change direction like I wanted. How's this? Is this okay? Yeah, this is okay. I'm just checking the entire line, every triangle. Yes, yes, this is alright. But you can see there are some that just... they didn't want to go the right direction. Gotta smack them back into place. The direction of these lines is quite important. I can always tell when I mess something up. Because I gotta go back in and fix it later, and that's always a bit annoying, so I prefer just to get things as good as I can manage right now, while I'm thinking about it. It looks like it wasn't too bad. Most of it didn't get too messed up. Alright, so I think this should be good. And that's the biggest one, and now it's done. Yeah, that's actually fine. That's a spot that's just too small to really matter that much. This is one where I'm pretty sure I just need dots around the inside edge and the outside edge. And everything in the inside doesn't really matter that much. So this is what I would call 4 rows. So we got the 2 on the inside and the 2 on the outside. So 4 rows. I don't think the rims here are going to make that big of a difference, even if I tried to mesh them separately. Let me see, do I have enough dots here? I think I do, actually. So this corner, maybe I don't. I might want one more just right here to help out that corner. Yeah, I think so. And there we go. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better than what I had before. I don't think I'll do very much with that corner, but I want to make sure it doesn't get all crunchy. That's something that can happen if you don't place your vertices in good spots. Like, I don't know how to describe crunchiness without showing an example, but it's really the only way it can be described. It just looks like the art is collapsing on itself, and it just, well, I mean, it looks crunchy. Like if you stepped on it, it would just hurt your feet, because it's sharp and unpleasant. Alright, then back to extraneous lines. Just gotta pull them out. Or at least I'm going to. Maybe I don't have to, but I don't like them. They make me a little bit sad. So, can't have that. Especially not when I'm trying to work on something very detailed that I'll be staring at for hours and hours upon end. There we go. That's wonderful. About halfway through. But fortunately, I think the work in this is very front-loaded. Because most of these layers that I still have to do are just the tiny little buckles and stuff running up the sleeve there. For this one, I might put a little bit of detail around this big shadow in the middle. Because I know some buttons run on that. And being able to manipulate the shadows to line up with the buttons, I think might actually be worthwhile. So I have to care a little bit more about this one. But for now, I'm gonna go around the outside first, because I feel like it. No further justification needed. This is the part that doesn't require much thought. And I think I'm making pretty good time. I think at the pace that I'm going, I'll be able to finish the coat today. Or at least the front parts. I'm pretty sure I can get to the other side too, since most of it will just be duplicated. I think the only parts that aren't are some areas around the belts and the flap. The lower part of the collar. Lapel, I think is the technical term for it. We'll see. We'll see what my brain wants to do. Right now, it's honestly having a pretty okay time. Even if this is a little bit tedious. Strangely enough, I've never actually been too bothered by somewhat tedious work. I think that's why I can be so patient in my art too, and just very carefully render things and not really mind that it takes a while. This probably doesn't need too much of a mesh. I think I'm just gonna do something basic. Just go around the button here. And then I'll put a couple out here on the shadow. Actually, I think rather than do it like that, I think I'm gonna do it like it's two row thing. I think 2-row thing makes more sense for this anyway. It was pretty thin. The structure I was doing before was more what I would do for something that's 3 rows. But I think 2-row makes much more sense for something so small. But yeah, it does feel like this part is going pretty fast. And I'm pretty sure the belts that are hanging off her hip there will be pretty fast too. I'm pretty sure I can do all those in a fairly standard 3-row structure. I'm already picturing parts of that in my head, because I live in the future. I don't know how it keeps happening, but I just always think 7 steps ahead. I was talking about some stuff with someone yesterday and I ended up confusing him because I was doing that again. Because to me, the steps that led to that discussion were already perfectly clear into my head. We were very much not on the same page. It happens. Talking to people is hard. And sometimes I forget just how non-linear my thinking is. It can be pretty easy to forget. That's because I'm so used to it, because it's my own brain. I know how my brain works. I already know what it's thinking. I see the update in real time. Yeah, this is another pretty easy one. I'm pretty sure I can just do a little circle. I don't even think I need anything special for the little extra bit of shadow over there. Do want it to be connected to the middle though, not the side. There we go. Just a quick little edit. Okay, now I have to start doing these. These probably won't be deformed much. I actually considered not giving them a mesh at all, but I think that might be a little bit too cheeky. I think they probably need at least some. But just a small one. I don't think it needs to be especially detailed or anything. Something like this I think should be plenty. So I'll just repeat the structure, you know, the 4 times I need to. Wonder if I can get away with copy and pasting it. Are they similar enough that I can do that? I know I drew them all individually, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're totally different. Heck yeah. So I'll try that real quick and see if that helps me out. If it's close enough and just needs some modifications, even that would be a boon. Okay, how exactly do I want to do this? This looks like something I can do with a fairly standard 3-row structure. Just with this little weird piece at the end. Something like this. Once again, I'll save how much of this I can copy and paste. Although if it's a standard 3-row with a little bit of extra, it honestly might be faster just to do it all myself. I think something like this is fine. Let me just get rid of the extra triangle here. Is this flowing the way I want it? Looks like it. Okay. That should be fine. And this, I think I can just do 3 rows. It's pretty small. I do not expect these areas to be moving much at all. Just debating if I needed the extra dot there, and I think I do. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but this was a little bit too rounded at the edge, so I needed the dot there. Alright, time to see how much of this I can copy and paste. Good enough. This one, not so much. This one's a little bit too different. But it's alright. This kind of mesh is pretty easy to do. Doesn't even mean I have to stop thinking about fantasy armor. Let me see. Can I just steal? Yes, I can. Well, no. Not quite. This kind of structure is a little bit more sensitive to changes. But it's also very easy to do, so that's okay. I don't mind just remeshing this. Alright, time to see how much of this I can steal again. Oh, no, not that part, this part. All of it. Oh. Okay, this one might need a little bit more modification. I should at least put the edges, you know, on the edge. Instead of kind of floating out in space. But for the most part, it was fine. Let's see, this one. No. This one actually looks more like the second one. I wonder if this one will work. Yeah, pretty close. Let me just center these on a little bit better. And that's good. And with this one being as easy as it is, I think I'd just prefer to take care of it like this. Can I steal it? Maybe I can steal this one. I was gonna say, wasn't this mostly copied from this one? I think it was, actually. So, yeah, that should be good. This one will be easier just to redo. Sometimes by trying to save effort, you're just creating more work for yourself, and it's just easier to do it again. It's fine. The angle on this one is a bit different, so I just want to make sure that it all looks good. And this kind of structure is pretty quick. And I feel like I flew through all these belt buckles and stuff. Or I guess sleeve buckles, as the case may be. I'm looking at this, and it's barely even been an hour. I already have the sleeve done. The sleeve was pretty daunting, but it ended up being not so bad. Just had lots of tiny little layers. Just one little guy there. There we go. Okay, that's the sleeve. I'm just gonna hide that there, and I can move on to the rest of the right side of the coat. This is why I have faith that I might be able to finish both sides today, not the back. But both sides of it. It's a pretty good start. The coat is one of the bigger areas after all. I think in terms of percentage of image, the coat and the skirt are the biggest ones. The biggest areas. So naturally they'll have the largest meshes. The head definitely has the most detailed mesh, but just in terms of sheer number of pixels, coat and skirt definitely got the biggest ones. It'll be nice to get those done. Just the most challenging areas, get them done as quickly as I can manage. And everything else, well, it'll feel like downhill. It'll just be easy. Always feels great. That's one thing I do appreciate about digital art, is that you can work on things in pretty much any order. As with a lot of traditional art, you have to actually be particular about the order you do things in. I'm just thinking of like oil painting and the like, where you pretty much have to start from the background and work your way forward. And it makes it hard to make changes to stuff in the background after you've already painted on top of it. As with digital, I just go to my background layer and it's all good. I can do whatever the heck I want. Don't even have to worry about it. Okay. Kinda... So this has that little seam there, so I'm gonna be a little particular about him. Treat him like he's a two-row thing. And we'll just put some triangles around it. Just going all the way down. It's a long one. Because the code is quite large, like I was just saying. It's gonna have the most double clicking. I double click to create every single one of these dots. And indeed, hand started to cramp up a little. I guess that's something to keep in mind if I want to do more rigging long term. And then there's this little spot right here that I think I just want to define just a little bit more. Everything else I think is probably fine like this. Well, no, there's a little light spot right here too. Let's get him captured. He just gently nestled into a bunch of triangles. I don't like this. Okay. I guess that's all that's left is to go around the edge. All the way around. One more time. And this time I mean it, Brain. I'm not even lying to you. For this specific mesh that we're working on, this is the last time we have to go all the way around. I guess I'll have to go around to clean up the excess lines and make sure that all the lines are going the right way, but you know, that's comparatively easy. And we'll just go all the way around one more time. Sure everything's good, and stretch my hand a little bit real quick. There we go, it's feeling a bit better now. It's feeling a bit better now. Doesn't take much to stretch your hand, but it's important to do. Don't want to get like carpal tunnel or any of that stuff. This is something that people that maybe do a little bit too much art start feeling after a while. Their wrist starts to hurt and you have to rest it. You gotta stop. It's deeply unfortunate. The limitations of bodies. Sometimes I wish I could just, you know, put my brain in a robot body and not have to worry about it. Sometimes I feel like bodies are just way too needy. Like to eat multiple times a day. Getting to sleep 8 hours a day. Just all that annoying stuff. It gets in the way of doing all the fun stuff. Alright. Time to clean up. I don't remember there being too many triangles that went the wrong direction, but I'm still kind of looking through them all as I circle around, hunting for sneaky lines that I don't want. Okay. So that's another big area done. And a lot of this is just going to be belts and stuff, which are easy. So easy. This one's big enough that it might actually make sense to do 4 rows instead of 3, but I think 3 should be enough. So I'm not going to worry about it. If it ends up not being enough, I'll change it to 4 later. What's happening with my lines here? This should be... yes. Oh, come on. Don't make me adjust it. Come on, that's like one of the advantages of the 3-line structure. Is that you don't have to do a bunch of adjusting afterwards. There we go. Okay, all worked out. The triangles were just not cooperating with me for some reason. Maybe they were just trying to tell me that this is more suitable as a 4-line structure. Which it very well could be. And I'm gonna go with this one for now. I think this should be fine. This is another area that's kind of floppy, so it's entirely possible that I should be making this a little bit more detailed, but I think this should be okay. This is where it's going to get really floppy anyway. The top part is not quite as floppy. The middle and bottom part, very floppy. They're going to be flipping around all over the place. It's like loose hanging belts like this are basically strings, so. Oh, they're super duper floppy. Definitely want to give myself lots of room to play with physics with them. Oh man, this little spot is fairly long, isn't it? It's taken me a while to get all these dots going down. There's a ton of them. Okay. Few little extra lines here, but not too many. There we go. Last piece of belt. This one is thick enough that and floppy enough. Like, this is the one that's at the bottom. This is probably the area that's going to move the most. And it's thick enough that I think it just makes more sense to do 4 rows instead of 3. I'll just go in and do that real quick. It's fairly small. It won't take that long. See, we're almost all the way around. The first pass, at least. As I still have to go all the way around the outside. But it wasn't too bad at all. I mean, look how many layers I meshed today. I think I might actually stop at finishing off this side of the coat. I think I might copy and paste the sleeve over. And the other symmetrical parts of the collar and stuff. But I think besides that, I'll leave it at this side today because I'm realizing that the parts that aren't completely symmetrical are also very detailed. A lot of them, like the main part of the coat itself. The lapel going across there, and yeah, those are all going to be pretty detailed, so I think I'll save those for tomorrow. But it's okay, making very steady progress. I feel like most of the layers are already done. We're probably about halfway through them. But a lot of them just will not be as detailed as the ones on the upper body here. Like, I will not be worrying about the skirt quite as much, in theory. But it is also me we're talking about. Maybe I should know better. And that I probably will go be the perfectionist I normally am. I missed a dot. Oops. It's alright. All better. Alright. I think this is just going to be 3 rows with an extra. Just this weird spot right there. I don't think he needs to move that much, so this should be more than enough. There we go. 3 more, but one of those is kind of big. So I'm a little afraid. I think I can just get away with 3 rows here. So I'll keep it simple. I don't think this one's going to move very much. And at this point we're also getting into a bunch of stuff that's below the waist. So it is just by default not nearly as important. So I shouldn't take quite as much time to do all these meshes for those parts. So I don't plan to put nearly as much work into them. There we go. Oh, yes. Big ol' shadow. Nice long snake. We're turning this snake-like shadow into a spotted snake-like shadow, I guess. And I'll just keep going down. after this, there's just one more, but unfortunately I think it's a fairly big one. Because I'm pretty sure it's the top part of the coat. So I don't remember meshing that yet, and that seems important. And it's also above the waist, so I can't be lazy like I have been. I have to care. Yep, and that's exactly what it is. I was a little bit afraid of this one, if I'm being honest. Because look at all the stuff on it. Oh, goodness. It's so shiny. A lot of it is fortunately kind of covered up, but I should still be particular about this one. It's above the waist. It matters a bit more than some of the other stuff that I was working on there. Those of you that haven't heard me ramble about why it being above the waist is important here. It's like if you look at most VTuber setups, they will only show like probably the bust area and higher. Sometimes the waist and higher. And so I consider everything above the waist much more important, with the head being just the most important. So the fact that this part is above the waist means that I want to pay attention to it and make sure that it's meshed very nicely so I can move it very nicely later. Yeah, this will definitely be the last thing I do for today. Like, if it was just another few easy things, I might have considered moving some stuff over to the other side of the coat, just as a way to end things, but no, I think this mesh is just gonna be the last thing I do. It's a scary mesh. I completely forgot that I still had to do this part. But on the bright side, I can duplicate this over to the other side. I have to remesh the lower half of the other side myself, but this part I can reuse. All the more reason to make sure it's nice, because any mistakes I make I will have to fix. Twice. And that just sounds like pain. I don't like pain. I'm sure some people that know me will be surprised by this statement, but I, in fact, do not like to be in pain. Alright, I think I'll do the inside before the outsides. This way I can end on something nice and easy. And go back to thinking about fantasy armor. So I can already see that the biggest thing that I need to pay attention to here is this little guy. And this little seam coming up here. We definitely want to make sure that he's all wrapped up nice and safe. Nice and safe. This way it'll be nice and easy to move later. Kind of skewing my triangles a bit there. Should straighten some of these guys out. I don't want those triangles to be too skewed. Oops. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of little dots here. But it's okay, when I go to finish the rest of the coat tomorrow, I'll already have most of it done. So I can just reflect it. You can see this part is fairly long, so it's taken me a little while to get all the way to the bottom here. It's all just so tiring. But once I have this flopping around, I think it'll be worth it. I do so look forward to adding all the physics. Okay. So I kind of want to keep this white line safe too. All these high contrast lines are very important, so I need to make sure that they're very good. Very secure. Don't want them feeling anxious. That's a good way to make them crunchy. And starting to cramp up again, but I am very determined to finish this part of the coat today, so I'm gonna keep going until it's done. And then I can go work on the character designs guilt-free. So I did quite a lot today, and I am satisfied. Like earlier, I thought I might be able to finish off both sides of the coat, but that was perhaps a little bit too ambitious. I forgot that I still had this part. Because, oh boy, this part is... well, it's a big one, isn't it? Look how much ground I have to cover. So I'll just follow this line all the way down again. I do believe that this goes all the way down. So many things here go all the way down. And oh boy, all the way down is a long way to go. But it's alright, look, it's already right there. Wasn't so bad at all. Alright. So I'll go back to managing all these shapes around here. Some of them I'm more particular about than others, but for the most part I think this is okay. This is all outside. Don't want to mix your outside dots and your inside dots. I do plan to put some more on the inside there to make it a little bit easier to manipulate this light area. It's like it's a pretty important little spot, I think, so I want to make sure that I get it all right. And once again, it looks like this part goes all the way down. So I'll just keep following it. Looks like this one goes all the way down too. Not surprising. Most things on this are gonna go all the way down. Alright, and we'll stick some like this just to kind of neaten things up here. I don't always go all the way down to this one, but I think I will here. Just because the lines get a little bit messy near the bottom there. This side I don't think I will. Alright, and I think that's the interior there. I just gotta go all the way around one more time. And then it just clean up. Alright, the colors here are kind of blending together a bit, so I have to really pay attention to make sure that I actually get all the necessary pixels here. But I think everything's good. Of course, we don't want to leave anyone out, even if they're a bit hard to see. All the pixels must be within the mesh. Alright, now we're getting back into higher contrast stuff, where it's easier to see. That's always a bit easier on me. You can already see, almost there. Almost there. I am glad that I'll be able to reuse this one though, because... Ooh. Meshing all this is maybe a little bit of a pain. There's just a lot to it. Now it's just cleanup. Cleanup where ultimately I do kind of have to go all the way around again. We just spin and spin when we do meshes. Spin round and round and round. Until everything is covered by triangles. Lovely little triangles. Fortunately, I do think my triangles are looking pretty good. I've been trying to be a bit more particular about keeping them there so I don't have to do like 50 million extra checks to get them all going right. Let me check up here. It looks like it goes all the way up. Please go all the way around. No. Okay. Now they do. This probably makes more sense to do like this. I'm not sure if it matters that much, but it might matter a little bit, so I'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. This goes like this. Do I want this to connect over here? I think I do. Yeah. It connects over here and goes down. Yeah, I think that actually works better like that. Just making these final decisions here. Make sure that everything's the way I want it to be. And I make no compromises. You don't need to compromise in your art. Your art is yours. Okay, I think we're good. And with that, the right side of the code is done. So I'll be ending it there for today, and hopefully next time we can finish off this side. Since I probably have about half of it all meshed out that I can just copy over. Alright, so with that, thank you all for coming. If you'd like me to take a look at your own creative projects, whether that be art, writing, coding, game design, any creative pursuit you can think of, feel free to message or at me on Twitter or Instagram and I'll take a look and maybe leave some comments. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.